All right, let's get down to brass tacks. You know how it is with firearms history. There are the superstars, the ones everyone knows because they were in the right war at the right time. Then you have the ones that just missed their shot at fame. But here's the cold, hard truth from someone who spent a lot of time downrange. There's a whole family of semi-auto rifles out there that never got the credit they actually earned on the firing line. We're talking about guns that were dead nuts reliable, that were battle-tested in some of the worst places on Earth, or had features that were decades ahead of their time. These aren't just wall hangers meant to collect dust. Some of these were hauled through the jungle by U.S. Marines. Others put food on the table for generations of American hunters. And a few of them carry the actual mechanical DNA of the rifles we all run today. So if you're the kind of person who wants to know the why behind your gear, or you just have a soft spot for a sleeper that punches way above its weight class, you're going to want to stick around for this list. We're going to break down 8 semi-auto rifles that deserve a whole lot more respect than the history books ever gave them. Everybody knows the M1 Garand. It's the undisputed heavyweight champ of World War II. But living in its shadow and getting pretty much ignored was the Johnson Model 1941. And let me tell you, this rifle had some serious tricks up its sleeve. First off, forget that 8-round N-block clip. The Johnson had a 10-round rotary magazine built right in. Now, why does that matter in a fight? Because you could top that magazine off with loose rounds or even a stripper clip anytime. You didn't have to shoot it dry and wait for that famous ping to reload while you're taking fire. Keeping that gun full is a massive tactical advantage. It also had a quick change barrel. We take that for granted on modern squad automatic weapons, but on a standard infantry rifle back then, that was pure science fiction. It ran on a short recoil system, which means the barrel and bolt actually move backward together for a split second to unlock. It worked, but it made the rifle a little finicky if you tried to hang stuff off the barrel, and it had more small parts than the Garand. So what killed it? Logistics. Plain and simple. By the time the Johnson was ready for prime time, the U.S. was already all in on the Garand. They weren't about to shut down those assembly lines to make a second rifle. But it still saw combat. Elite units like the Marine Raiders and the Paramarines carried it in the Pacific, and a lot of those guys loved it for that bigger magazine. Its real legacy, though, is in the bolt. Melvin Johnson's multi-lug rotating bolt idea went straight into Eugene Stoner's head when he designed the AR-10, and that bolt design carried right over to the AR-15. So yeah, every time you rack the charging handle on your AR, you're feeling a little bit of that Johnson DNA. The FN-49 is what I call the last honest-to-goodness old-world battle rifle. Fabrique Nationale in Belgium built this right after World War II, and they thought it was going to be the standard rifle for a rebuilding Europe. And the quality is just insane. All machined steel, beautiful walnut stocks. They're built like a fine watch. It used a smooth and reliable tilting bolt gas system, and FN would make it for you in whatever caliber your country used. 7x57 Mauser, 30-06 Springfield, 8mm Mauser, you name it. So why did it fail? It showed up to the party about 5 minutes too late. By the time it was ready, the world was already moving on to select fire assault rifles and standardized ammo. So it ended up serving in places like Egypt and Venezuela, but it never got adopted by a major power. Collectors call it the missing link between the old bolt actions and the modern FAL. If you ever get a chance to shoot one, just do it. It's a smooth, classy rifle that just had rotten timing. If you mention the Daewoo K2 at your local gun store, you'll probably just get blank stares. And that is a crying shame, because this South Korean service rifle is the definition of a hidden gem. Think of it like this. What if you took the user-friendly ergonomics of an AR-15 and mashed them together with the bomb-proof long-stroke gas piston of an AK? That's the K2. Under the handguard, it's running dirty and reliable, just like a Kalashnikov. But when you shoulder it, the safety, the mag release, the bolt catch, It's all right where an American shooter expects it to be. It's chambered in 5.56 NATO and feeds from standard AR mags, so it fits right into our world. The South Korean military has been running these things hard for decades, and they just flat out work. One huge advantage over a standard AR? It has a factory side-folding stock. You don't need some goofy adapter because the recoil spring is in the receiver, not a buffer tube. That makes it super handy for stowing in a truck or a tight space. So why isn't it famous here? Bad timing again. By the time it was offered for import, the AR and AK already owned the market. Later, import bans choked off the supply, making them rare. But I'm telling you, if you get behind a K2, you'll wonder why we didn't buy a boatload of them. In the U.S., we always hear about the FAL as the right arm of the free world. But the H&K G3 was just as common, and in some ways, even tougher. This is German engineering at its most utilitarian. It's a brute. It's chambered in 7.62 NATO, a full-power battle rifle round meant to punch through cover and stop threats at a distance. The magic here is the roller-delayed blowback system. It doesn't use a gas piston. It uses precise mechanical rollers to keep the action locked until the pressure is safe. Because of that, the G3 has a very unique recoil. It doesn't push you, it snaps at you. But the trade-off is just absurd reliability. This thing will eat any ammo you can find, and it will throw that empty brass into the next county. It's heavy, and the ergonomics are a bit blocky. But if you need a rifle that will absolutely, positively run no matter how much mud you dump in it, the G3 is a beast. I know what you're thinking, a French rifle on a list of great guns. But hear me out, because the Mas 4 9.56 is a serious exception. This was France's main battle rifle right before they adopted the FAMAS bullpup, and it's a rugged, no-nonsense tool. Mechanically, it used a direct gas impingement system. It just tubes gas straight from the barrel back to the bolt carrier. Sound familiar? It's the same basic idea Stoner used later, but even simpler. This kept the parts count low and the weight down. It was chambered in 7.5 French, which is a great round, pretty similar to a .308. The problem was, nobody else used it. It was a logistical island. But man, if you can find one of these rifles and some good surplus ammo, they are surprisingly accurate and very soft shooting for a full-power rifle. It's tough, it's simple to maintain, and it just works. It got sidelined by NATO politics, not by any failure of its own. If you want to talk about the granddaddy of them all, the rifle that proved a semi-auto could be a hunting rifle, you have to talk about the Remington Model 8. This was another one of John Moses Browning's creations, released way back in 1906. Think about that. Over 100 years ago, you could walk into a hardware store and buy a reliable, powerful semi-auto rifle. It used a weird long recoil system. When you fire, the barrel and bolt stay locked together and travel all the way to the back of the receiver like a pogo stick before they separate. It's a strange feeling if you're used to modern gas guns, but it worked. It was chambered in rounds like .35 Remington, which was a real thumper on deer and black bear in the thick woods. And law enforcement loved it too. The most famous Model 8 was used by Texas Ranger Frank Hamer to finally stop Bonnie and Clyde. That right there should have made it a legend. Fast forward to the 1960s. If you were a deer hunter who wanted a semi-auto, Winchester came out with the Model 100. And this was a sleek gun. It didn't feel bulky or military-like. It handled fast, just like a good lever action, and it came in great cartridges like .308 Winchester and .243. Hunters who had them loved them. They were accurate enough for any reasonable woods range, and they just looked great. But Winchester made one fatal mistake. They didn't offer it in .30-06. Back then, the .06 was still king of the deer woods. Remington offered their semi-auto, the 7.42, in .30-06, and they just ate Winchester's lunch. A few years later, a firing pin recall scared some people off, and the gun's reputation just never recovered. It's a shame, because a good Model 100 is a sweet shooting classic. Since the mid-70s, the Ruger Mini 14 has been the quiet professional in the corner. While the AR-15 was getting all the glory and all the controversy, the Mini-14 was just quietly doing its job in patrol cars and on ranch trucks all across America. Bill Ruger basically took the M14 action and shrunk it down for the .223 Remington cartridge. You get that ultra-reliable Garand-style rotating bolt and a tough, self-cleaning gas piston system. Crucially, it has a traditional wood and steel look that doesn't scare non-gun people the way a black rifle can. And in states with strict ban lists, that's huge. The Mini often flies under the radar while still giving you 30 rounds of .5.56 on tap. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, accuracy. The older ones had skinny barrels that would heat up and start stringing shots after a magazine or two. That hurt its reputation for a while. But Ruger fixed that years ago. The new ones have thicker, hammer-forged barrels that are plenty accurate for ranch work or hunting coyotes. It's not an AR, and it doesn't try to be. It's a rugged, dependable American rifle that has held the line for nearly 50 years. So that's my list. 8 semi-autos that history just shouldn't have slept on. It just proves that sometimes the best gear isn't what's on the magazine covers. It's the stuff that just quietly gets the job done, year after year. Now it's your turn. I want to hear from you down in the comments. Which one of these do you think got the rawest deal? And what did I miss? What sleeper rifle belongs on this list? Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this one, do me a solid and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell so you don't miss what's next. Until next time, stay safe and keep training.